Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala Sayyid al-Anbiya wal Mursaleen. Allahumma allimna ma yanfa'una. وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. Okay, so I think last week we asked two questions. One question was, I think, if you said some people, how many that would be? And we also said, what does and mean? So what do you think? What does and mean? So if I say, I gave a cake, for example, I gave a plate, some food to Sham. I said, Sham, please give this to Badr and Muhammad Shaman. Could he just give it to one of them?
No.
Okay. So now I give him a plate and I say, give this to the poor and the unfortunate. How does this work now?
He has to give it to either or.
Mm. So and
But
change
but but
and 1 second, according to Badr, and changed to from and to meaning both to meaning or suddenly. Like before, when I gave it to Badr and Muhammad Shaman, that meant both of them. And now, when you said give it to the poor and the unfortunate, it meant either. You notice that difference?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Sham.
with the caveat, though, if I remember, Sheikh, that the first priority has to be family who are indigent.
Okay, that's in terms of charity. That's in terms of charity. Okay, with
Okay.
charity, yes. Here we're talking about zakat, and right now we're not even talking about morality or deen. We're just talking about Arabic language. Imagine I'm sitting in a room talking to uh, atheist professor of Arabic language plus whatever somebody else. Nobody. We're not talking about religion. We're just talking about language, right? So I said, here you go, please, Sham, please take this plate and give it to Badr and Muhammad, and you gave it to one of them. Have you done what I asked you to do?
No.
Okay, but then apparently Badr has this crazy idea. It's not crazy. I'm just labeling it as crazy. Is that what as soon as I said give it to the poor and the unfortunate, suddenly the poor and the unfortunate doesn't mean both. It means all. What do you think, Muhammad?
Well, it's because they're categories of people.
Okay. So basically, when I was speaking about Badr and yourself and Badr, it was very specific. It was like this individual and this individual. So we understand specifically I have to give it to both of these individuals. It didn't mean give it to either or of them. But when I spoke in a general sense, give it to the poor and the unfortunate, that doesn't mean the poor and the unfortunate people over there sitting under the bench. There's not 18 poor people and 16 unfortunate people, and I've said go and give it to them, right? I'm because as soon as I shifted to the category, it suddenly meant or. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, what about numbers then? So now basically I concede that it's in principle possible that it can mean or, given that it is talking about categories. Okay, and what about numbers? So now Sham not only gave it to just poor people or just unfortunate people, but he also gave it to how many?
Wait, can you repeat the last point, Sheikh?
So basically I gave you this plate of food, one plate of food that's really enough for one or two people if they shared it. And I said give it to the poor and the unfortunate. You interpreted it meaning because it's just a category, these two categories, It doesn't mean specifically this person or specifically that person or specifically this group or specifically that group. You assumed you could give it to either or group. Okay? Now you go along and you give it. So how many people are you going to give that plate to?
2,
Why'd you say 2?
like 2 groups.
Okay, but so let's assume he only gives it to one group now, based on your interpretation. But that he says, it just means generally, so it can give to either or. If we say either or, how many people does he have to give the food to?
1.
Why?
Because if it's either or, 1 fulfills the condition.
Okay. But the poor and so can I point at a person and say, look, he is the poor? Is one person the poor?
No, a group.
A
Like,
group. So, okay, so a group in
Mhm.
English is how many?
uh, 3 or more.
Okay. In Arabic, Muhammad Shaman, what's أقل الجمع in Arabic? If I said سيارات, or if I said أولاد, how many kids are there? How many cars are there? Like the minimum that you could say سيارات or say أولاد or أشجار or what's a minimum that could be a plural in Arabic?
Minimum would be 2.
Minimum is 2?
Yeah, well, I guess you
Minimum
can
is
say
3.
So do I say,
so
you say كم ولدا عندك? I say عندي ولدان وبنت. Or do I say عندي أولاد وبنت?
ولدان.
Right?
So
So I have 2 sons and a daughter. So I would say عندي ولدان, I have 2 sons. I wouldn't say I have sons. Right? I wouldn't say I have sons. I would say you have عندي ولد, عندي ولدان. When you say sons in Arabic, that means 3 or more. So in Arabic, the minimum plural is 3. Okay? In Arabic, the minimum plural is 3. Right? But again, as Badr said, it's like, well, you weren't talking about specific people. So as long as it was one instance of that class, I fulfilled it. Okay? So here we are talking pure linguistics, and this is a very important point, right? Very important point. There's a certain point where we have to divorce ourselves from other i'tibarat, other considerations, and say we are not talking about Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and what is right and what is wrong. This discussion is about math. This discussion is about language. This discussion is about this, right? Because that's part of the discussion. So here we are speaking, we are what's it called, dispassionately approaching the revelation and saying, what do words mean? How should they work? Okay. So here, first of all, we have a debate among the scholars of Arabic language and the scholars of Usul in general, is what happens, what does and mean, right? Generally speaking, we don't really have a discussion here, right? Generally speaking, and means both, right? جاء زيد وعمر, Zaid and Amr came. That means they both came. Does not mean either of them came. That doesn't make any sense. So the default is and means and this is what the Shafis hold on to in this verse. Okay? Furthermore, the default is these are plural verses. It says, alms are only for the poor, al-fuqara, plural, and the needy, al-masakin, plural, وَالْعَامِلِينَ عَلَيْهَا, plural, وَالْمُؤَلَّفَةِ قُلُوبُهُم, plural, hum, not huma or who, right? وَفِي الرِّقَابِ, plural, وَالْغَارِمِينَ, plural, and فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, plural, right? And for the wayfarers, plural, okay? These are all plural. So the Shafis are saying, what does and mean? It means both. It means all. Okay. So therefore, you have to give zakat to 8 categories. You cannot give zakat to one category. That's number 1. Number 2, you have to give zakat to at least 3 people in each category. Why? Because the minimum plural is 3. Okay? And then other scholars come along, and even some Shafis as well. They come along and say, hang on a minute. When you said the paw, did you mean the paw inside your head or outside of your head? What are you talking about? I'm saying that you're a human, right? And you think. When you think, you have categories in your head, right? You categorize things as objects, as liquids, as people, as this is a Chinese person, and this is a frog, and this is a car, and this is a planet. You categorize things, right? You make genuses in your head. So correct. So in your head, you have genuses, right? These things in your head. So when you say the cat, you could be talking about the cat in front of you, which is a specific cat outside of your head, or you could be talking about the cat, meaning the generic cat inside your head. So similarly, when you say cats are nice animals, you could be talking about the cat, the concept of cat in your head. So therefore, the concept of cat in your head, يصدق على الواحد ويصدق على الاثنين ويصدق على ثلاث. It can apply, any instance of that thing in your head can apply in reality to 1, 2, or 3. So in your head, you have a statement about cats. Cats are nasty. Cats are nice. That statement can apply to any instance of that class outside of your head. So here, some scholars have come along and say the L here, the is the of jins, of cat, of in your head. It is a category in your head. The needy, this is in your head. It is not the same as Muhammad and Badr, because Muhammad and Badr are not in your head. Or those poor people over there sitting next to the bench, those people are not in your head. They exist outside of your head. So other scholars, they say, because this is the L of jins, this is not the L that that refers to something outside of your head, it's one that's inside of your head, right? And because that's just a concept, it's not an actual concrete thing. As Badr, notice how Badr, he just kind of thought about that without thinking. That was the kind of natural conclusion. A lot of these things that we do in fiqh or in language is all natural, right? Like we don't have to, you don't have to study linguistics to know these things. Like you kind of think about it without thinking, if that makes sense. So they say, no, that's not the case. The minimum plural, that applies to actual things, right? Things in your head, whether it's plural or not, it doesn't matter, right? So the Hanafis, for example, they say, al-jins yulghi al-jama', like the L that refers to the generic, the L, it cancels plurality, right? Plurality is cancelled thereby. So therefore, when it says the poor and a poor person, this is all the same, right? And also given that it's a category, like give it to any of these categories. That's what it means. Give it to anyone, any single person who is in one of these categories, right? That's what it means for them. So they can give it to one person, and they can give it to just one person in the category. And the Shafi'is, we have to give it to at least 3 times 8. What's 3 times 8?
24.
24. You have to give zakat to at least 24 people. You cannot give all your zakat to one person. And on top of that, it has to be in your city, right? Or where your gold is buried, right? So Sham works in Buffalo, but his gold bullion is carefully stored in India. So he can't give zakat in Buffalo or in Hercules. He has to give his zakat where his gold is, which is in the city in India. That's where his gold bullion is, in a treasure chest under the floorboards. So that
Yeah, can I
money.
ask a question?
Bismillah, go ahead.
So it's about this very point, right? And I've heard many lectures from you about the impermissibility of banks, but how we need them in the US also
Of
for.
course, so in the
But here's
world,
my question then. But my question is, like, you're talking about bullion, like, and I know you're just using an example, but like when I have my money in a bank, that bank money is not technically in Buffalo,
that's
but I
correct.
still use it to pay zakah. So how does that happen?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So the question is then what is the reality of a bank account? The reality of a bank account is a loan. It's a loan. So when you look at your account and it says you have X amount of money, that is how much Chase owes you or Bank of America owes you. We owe you this money. And because it's a debit account or a current account, we are telling you we allow you to reclaim this debt whenever you want, right? Whenever you want. You can reclaim it whenever you want. You can come and take it out today, or you can use your debit card to buy something and we will give you the money or transfer that loan to somebody else, and now somebody else owes you that money, right? Or somebody else, sorry, that the money is now owed to somebody else. Right? We will now owe the company that you just, T-Mobile, that you just bought something from or whatever it is. So then where is the money? Okay, so now let's look at a debt. Let's think of two different types of debts. Okay, I lend you some money, Sham. Okay, you say, Fareed, I'm going to start up this business. I need $100,000. So say, fine, I will lend you $100,000. Where is the money? It's nowhere because you just spent it. Of course, you just bought machinery. So there's no place where it is. So what's happening now is I lent you money. The zakat is accruing. It's adding up. A year later, you still haven't paid me back. That's fine. But the zakat is accruing 2.5%, 1/40th of that $100,000 is accruing. The next year, it's still accruing. The next year, it's still accruing. The next year, it's still accruing. And then you don't pay me back. So I don't have to pay anything. Okay? I don't have to pay any zakat at all. Similarly, you stole money from me and you denied it, and we're going back and forward in court. Okay? The zakat is accruing. You stole $1 million from me. The zakat is accruing. You win the case and you don't give me my money. Right? Your gold bullion was on a ship and that ship sank. And then you found it 5 years later. So it was accruing. When you find the ship, you pay the zakat. So number one, with a debt that is not necessarily going to come back to you, you only pay it zakat on it when you actually have access to it. And you may not have access to it ever. You may not actually get your money back from that person, in which case no zakat is due. Okay, in retrospect, no zakat is due. As opposed to Chase or what's it called? Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo, you have a bank account with Wells Fargo. You can access that whenever you want. Here, you can't just pay zakat when they pay you back, because they're going to pay you back when you request it, right? Like, you want the money, you go and get it. You have $40,000, you can go and get $1,000 and give in zakat right now. But so that there's no, it's not like they're not giving it back to you. It's not like it's lost or anything like that. It's just accessible. So the issue is then, where is it, right? So the default is that where you are then, right? So with a bank account, A, it's a debt. B, a debt in principle only has to be, you only pay zakat on it when you receive it. But C, on the proviso that you couldn't reclaim it immediately, right? So if you can reclaim it immediately, you do have to pay zakat on a yearly basis. You can't just wait till you get it from them, right? And then two, you're going to pay it from where you are. Does that make sense? And actually, that would be the same with gold bullion. If you lent me gold bullion, your gold bullion has now disappeared because I owe you that value, not the gold bullion. So you wouldn't be looking at where the gold bullion is that you lent me and where I am in different places in the world. Because I owe you a value, I don't owe you the piece of gold itself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And then on the whole topic of Trump and these things, subhanAllah, someone just shared with me yesterday. China is trying to get gold, right? And is trying to outdo the dollar with the gold standard or something like that, or whatever it is. So interesting. Okay. But can I just say one thing before? Just forgive me, okay, but I want to go back.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just want to mention two things. Okay, three things. Number one, we are language heavy, right? So the trivium, quadrivium, whatever, language heavy. Medieval academics, language heavy, right? Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, Zaytuna, language heavy. What is it? the well-trained mind, right? Language heavy. This is where we're coming from. This is Islamic scholarship. In Islamic scholarship, you cannot escape grammar and rhetoric. It's like everywhere, annoyingly everywhere, right? It's annoyingly everywhere, which is a good, healthy thing because language is pretty important. And that is the interface with which we interact with revelation. Revelation is in language, right? So like we have to be language heavy. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, we're objective. It's not what I think and you think and how do I feel about it. There's a system. What does and mean? Does a plural apply to the L, the word the, which is for a genus in your mind, a category in your mind? Yes or no? It's a linguistic discussion. I can discuss that with an atheist and we can agree or disagree and go back, and my religious background has nothing to do with it. Can you see that how important that is? Right? That there's this problem with religion that it's self-confirming. Okay? And it's like, oh, you're amazing and you're right. It's like, no, that's not correct. Right? It's not we're true because we're true. It's not that's not Islam is not true because it's true. That's not correct. That's such a very, very dangerous way of thinking. Right? قُلْ إِنْ كَانَ لِلَّهِ وَلَدٌ فَأَنَا أَوَّلُ الْعَابِدِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, with all the guts in the world, say, if God has a son, sign me up. I'll be the first person to worship him. Islam is not true because it's true. Islam is true because it's objectively provable. Okay? And so we come to the world of kalam is not based on belief. Well, you have to believe and you have to be loyal to the group, and then you will really benefit from Islam. No, the world of kalam, the world of theology is about using your mind. And if you use your mind, you will come to the conclusion that Islam is true. Similarly, the world of usul, it's about being loyal to the madhab, and it's not at all. The world of usul is like the world of kalam. Here's a discussion. What does this word mean? And it's not a religious discussion. It is a linguistic discussion. It's a philosophical discussion. It is a what's it called? I don't know what kind of discussion, and that informs how I interact with religion, with revelation. Does that make sense? So it's very important that this whole process of actually being critical. Islam is extremely self-critical and questions things and has structures. What's the proof for that? What's the proof? If you look in Usul al-Fiqh, written by Shafi'is, nobody's quoting Imam Shafi'i, and they always disagree with him. They're not loyal to anybody. It's not like, we have to be loyal to this person. It doesn't exist, right? Sahih Bukhari is stronger than Sahih Muslim. Why? Because there's less criticisms of Bukhari than Muslim. That means we criticize it, right? We don't put it on a pedestal and say, it's divine writ, and the angels came and wrote down, Imam Bukhari's book, and he made ghusl and tayammum and wudu and prayed istikhara every single time he wrote the hadith down, so therefore it's divinely protected. No, Habibi, he's a human being. He makes mistakes. His teachers make mistakes. I can show them to you, right? It's not like that. That it is Allah has protected this deen through critical thinking. Write it down in gold. Allah has protected this religion through critical thinking. He has not protected the religion by war or by dogma. Fight everybody who disagrees with you. It's not like that. That's not actually how it worked at all.
Can I ask a question, Sheikh?
Yeah, that's what I got, Sham.
So is that why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala repeats so many times in the Quran that this is a book or a religion for those who think? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala questions or warns people for obfuscating the truth? Because to your point, what you said was so beautiful, Sheikh, that Islam is not the haqq because it is the truth just on its own. It's because that once you understand it, there can be no other truth. So is that why the punishment is so great in the Quran for rejecting it?
Exactly. Because it's not, so it's like this, pakora tastes nice. No, they don't. Kafir. You disagree with me. Eat pakora. It's like, why? It's not like that. Kufr is rejecting the truth. That's what it is. It's like you know the truth and you're rejecting it. It is not, oh, I'm sorry, you were born with the wrong name. Right. Oh, you have the wrong race. You're from the wrong race. Right. It's not like that. It's not how it works. Right. And when you come to our world of fiqh and usul, it's not like that at all. There's no politeness. There's no, it does happen now and then. It does happen, but that's not intentional, and that is wrong. But now and then you do get these things where people will kind of just like, do just accept people because he's an authority and it'd be awkward to reject it. It does happen. But that's not the structure. The structure is not like that. Okay. Now the next point. I just follow Quran and Sunnah. Okay, what does the Quran and Sunnah say about the elif jins and plurality? Now, brother, I just follow Quran and Sunnah. Okay. Here's the question. I'm going to repeat the question. The elif jins, how is it affected? How does it affect plurality? I just follow Quran and Sunnah. What it means is you're too dumb, with all due respect, to even understand the question. And number two, you don't have a system to understand the Quran and Sunnah. Okay? That's what it means. Like, if you don't understand that question, then you're not intelligent enough to interpret the Quran and Sunnah, with all due respect, and that's not a problem. Most of the Sahaba were not intelligent enough to understand the Quran and Sunnah. It's not a problem. Right? There's 4 people in this room, right? One of them has a PhD. What are you gonna do? Cry about it? It's like he has a PhD or don't. PhD, I'm sorry. Just how it is. So somebody could lecture on something and somebody else can't. So there we go. That's just how it is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives different risks to the different people. Okay? And so you don't understand the question, number one. And number two, you don't have a system. So when you're interpreting the Quran and Hadith, you don't have an objective system that every single time an L will turn up with the word the, and it's plural, you're not going to have a system. So that is a chaotic and irresponsible and therefore immoral approach to the Quran and Sunnah. It is chaotic, unsophisticated, and therefore immoral. You are a bull in a china shop, in a what's called? China shop. And you're saying Quran and Sunnah. Don't come and tell me Quran and Sunnah. Don't come and tell me that, unless you can answer this question. Because there's actually 10,000 other questions I'm going to ask you. And if you don't have an answer it, then you have a right to remain silent, period. Because you don't have a system. So what's the answer to the question? The answer to the question is, what does the Quran say about it? The Quran does not give us a system of grading hadiths. The Quran does not give us a system of analyzing these kind of things. We have to use external, man-made, imperfect systems, such as our own logic, such as our own understanding of linguistics, such as our own knowledge of how to critique history and narrate sources, etc. Therefore, there's going to be, because it's imperfect and human-made, therefore it is going to be different. We're going to have different ways of critiquing hadith and different way of, and therefore we're going to have different opinions. So it is not we follow Quran and Sunnah and get to one conclusion. Rather, we need to use external things to follow Quran, to understand Quran and Sunnah. And we're going to naturally disagree. That's just the nature of how we are. That's what's going to happen. So therefore, there's going to be a pluralistic society where there's more than one way of understanding the deen. A. And B, when you decide to try and understand the Quran and Sunnah, you have to be armed to the teeth with usul al-fiqh. That you have, these are questions, answer them. And you can't say, I don't want to answer them. You have to answer them. You have to have a system. Similarly, I asked the question, the word ilah. The word ilah, too. Does it include the word that follows it or not? You have to have an answer. You have to have an answer, because we're going to see the word to in the hadith, the word to in the Quran, and you need to use external non-revelatory sources to come up with a system and say, does it include the word that follows it or not? Because otherwise you're going to have a chaotic understanding of the deen. And you say, no, I follow Quran and Sunnah. Okay, great. Fantastic. All right. And this is why Imam Shafi'i said, I never debated with an intelligent person except that I won the case. And I never debated with a fool except that he won the case because he's just too dumb to understand that what's being said. Right? And so it's very important. رحم الله امرأ عرف قدره ووقف عنده. May Allah, they phrase in Arabic, may Allah, it's not a hadith, but may Allah show mercy to a person who knows his rank. He knows what he can do, what he can't do, and he stops at it. You're going over your pay grade. Stop. Right? And so we live in this world. We have to understand the Salafi movement is very Western, very, very Western. Right? It's actually romantic in the sense that break yourself free of the system, right? Forget the madhahib, forget the past, free, it's like my opinion is about me, right? Like our kids, we teach them in grade 1, it's all about me, everything about me, and we teach them Spanish. I can do this, and this is my friend, and my favorite food is this. Like everything's about me, 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 me. It's all a Western way of thinking and organized stuff. That's what it is. What do you think about it? When it's just chaotic. There's no structure and there's nothing there. Okay, does that make sense? So we mentioned what? The first side of it is we need religion has to be objective so that you can analyze it with things outside of religion. A, and then B, when we are analyzing religion, you have to have these systems in place. And if you don't have these systems in place, you're not being fair to this. You're not analyzing things properly. It's not fair. It's not a fair analysis. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, brother. You had a question.
So you said that the zakat has to go to the local poor and needy.
That is correct.
So does that mean that if you're paying zakat through some kind of service and it's like feeding people in Sudan, that it's invalid?
That is correct in the Shafi. That is the mu'tamad in the Shafi school. So if you came up to me, you say, Farida, I am asking you a question, and I'm asking you to answer in the Shafi school. You say, for the last 10 years, I gave my money to Palestine and Sudan. I say, you have not paid zakat. You're sinful. That is your answer. Now, and then I tell you on the side, by the way, there's also a position in the Shafi school that you can give to one person, and you can give outside of your city. That's also exists within the Shafi school, and it's the Hanafi school as well. So what do you want to do? You want to give all your money to Sudan? You can do that. But that's not the Shafi school.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So one does not give less than 3, because 3 is the minimum plural, from any category with the exception of zakat workers. Now, zakat workers are an exception for a number of reasons. Okay. So when we say zakat workers, we mean state zakat workers. So I live in Malaysia. In Malaysia, the president of Malaysia appoints me, Farid Dingle, to collect, audit, and distribute zakat. Okay? He, in his authority as leader of the Muslims, of these Muslims, okay, he appointed me. And he did not give me a salary. Okay. So now I can take from zakat what somebody like me would pay. So let's imagine, for example, I am I'm working with advanced programming. I have 25 years in programming and accounting, like a mixed kind of thing. I do both. I kind of merge these two worlds of accounting and programming. I am Dutch, a non-Muslim. Dutch and non-Muslim. Okay. And I would get paid a salary of $200,000 for doing this kind of level thing. Like if I went into a company and I did that, set up a whole system to audit them and to communicate between different systems and doing this and doing that and communicate with other managers and other systems and report to other countries, etc. All these kind of things, I would be paid $200,000. So now we can take zakat, okay, and pay $200,000 to this Dutch kafir for his job that he did for Malaysia. Does that make sense? So it can be a non-Muslim, it can be one person, and he is paid. He doesn't get a fraction. He gets what somebody like him would be paid. Okay? Somebody else is a Ethiopian Christian, not to say Muslim. He is 16. He has been appointed by the government to go and collect the cattle from a place that is 20 miles away. So his job is to get the cattle, put them onto the van, okay? Make sure that they get to the other city. That's it. How much would he be paid for that work? He would be paid $10 for that work. Okay, there we go. We give him $10. So you get paid what the kind of work is, right? Convert that into some other kind of worldly job. What kind of job would that be? That's what it is. So you don't get paid more or less, right? And it's not a fraction, and you don't have to be you don't have to be Christian, you have to even be Muslim, and you don't have to be yeah. But if you're on a salary, that's different. So you're being paid a salary by the Malaysian government to collect zakat or to audit zakat or to check receipts or to check this against that or to you're the vet that looks after the cows that are distributed or whatever it is. Or if you have a salary, then there's no zakat cannot be given to you. So A, you're established by the government. B, there's no salary. If there's a salary, you don't get any zakat, right? If you are, what's it called? If it's not for Islamic State, it's for the masjid. Yeah, but I collect zakat for the masjid and I distribute zakat for the masjid. Why can I take zakat money? You cannot take zakat money. Why? Because the Amir al-Mu'mineen isn't there. You need to have the al-Imam. You need to have the Muslim ruler. The masjid is not your Muslim ruler. You don't have the authority over people to do that. This is zakat money. You can't play with it in that way because that's not your job. Right?
Can I ask a question about this?
Go ahead, Shem. Yeah.
What about in the case, again, I mean, obviously there's no Muslim ruler. So what about in the case in the US? For example, there are Muslims who are on welfare assistance. They get SNAP, food stamp benefits. Are you saying that that would take away or no? Take away their zakat
So
eligibility?
in America, period, you could not receive zakat in your capacity as a zakat worker. You might receive zakat for another reason, but you say, why did you receive money? Why did you receive zakat money? Oh, because I was collecting, distributing zakat. No, period. Because there's no Muslim ruler. You can't do that. Does that make sense? You might get zakat.
Okay.
You might get zakat because you're poor. You might get zakat because you are in debt. You might be zakat for other reasons, but you could not receive zakat in your capacity as a zakat worker.
No, okay, I'm sorry. I should have clarified.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand that in the US context. What I was asking was is if somebody doesn't have an income source, meets the criteria for zakah eligible, but they get federal assistance from the government, does that take away from their eligibility for zakah?
That's a good question. Um,
Well,
so
I've never thought about it till right now, but I work with a lot of refugees and I wonder now.
yeah. And so it's particularly, let's say in the 90s in England, it was like that. Like you turn up from Bangladesh with like 9 kids, you're going to be raking in the dough. Like it's going to have so much money because they're going to get money, so much money for every single child you have. Like it was designed in that way that it's kind of like for for the average white family with like 2 kids, it's like it's great. But then you turn up with 8 kids, and then they're just going to start throwing money at you. So the fact that you have an income, the fact that somebody has promised you charity, does that make you no longer poor? I think that's the way you could phrase it, right? So like if you have it, right, you literally have the things, then that's something different, right? But I'm saying, for example, I don't have a salary. I'm not able to work in the United States yet, or if I do, I can't make ends meet. But I am on, for example, unemployment benefits. I'm on whatever stipend. So like I know my friend, for example, he worked with refugees in Norway. They would not give them money. So what they would do though is he would, so it's quite different. So I don't know how it is here, right? So even food stamps, you're not giving you cash. I'm giving you food stamps. So well, how am I going to pay for my electricity bill though? Or the rent? right? So it's not so simple. But try and make it simpler. Here is somebody, okay, here's this lady. She does not have a job, and 5 people have promised her to give her money on a monthly basis as charity. Is she zakat eligible or not? Like the money they promised her is enough, right? But she doesn't actually have an income. Allahu alam, she's zakat eligible. So even if she says, I'm going to get this money at the end of the month because 5 people have promised this money, but she doesn't have the money, and it's not a job. It's not like she has an income. You know what I'm saying? So there's a weakness to a promise of money. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right? Even with food stamps, so I'm on food stamps plus what's called Section 8, right? Is it called Section 8?
Yeah, that's for housing.
Housing, right? So I'm on housing benefits, I'm on food stamps and something else for electricity bills or whatever. I don't know. It's tricky. Certainly once they've accrued the money, that's different, right? So now there's this, there's there's this family, they're on food stamps, Section 8 and this, and they're working on the side under the table, and the guy's on lots of money, right? So he's certainly not zakat eligible, right? But the issue is he doesn't. There's a family from a country, they're just there, they sit at home. They cannot work, or if he worked, it wouldn't be enough. And it's just that charity is coming in, right? As far as I know, that's not considered wealth because it's weak. It's not considered, it's not something you rely on. Wallahu a'lam. Does that make sense?
Yes, helpful. Thank you.
Inshallah. Khair. Okay. So with zakat, they don't have to be etc. So now what are these categories then? So it mentions these 8 categories. So we said for the poor. What does the poor mean? It means you live in California, you have the rent for your house, you have electricity bills, right? You have kids at school, Islamic school. So that's considered a need, right? That's not considered something extra. So you're paying $2,000 for your kids to go to an Islamic school. Okay, so you have your rent, your electricity, your water, your trash, your food, your this, your that, basic things, clothes, add it all up. What does it come to? X amount. Do you make X amount? No, I don't make X amount. Okay. And why is that the case then in California? Because everyone's on dual income. So if you think about most people in the world, India, Jordan, Egypt, California, New York, most people are actually poor. Because what's happening is actually relying on charity from their wife. Right? That's what's happening. That's what's happening. Is that so every month she's like, yeah, of course we put our money together, but she's not obliged to pay for anything. Okay. And he makes at best 80%, 70% of what they need. Okay, 70%, she brings in 70%, it's 140%. They're actually quite wealthy, they have a few nice cars, they go on holiday, but actually they're zakat eligible. Okay, they're actually zakat eligible. Because he doesn't make enough money to support himself and his family in an acceptable way. He doesn't have enough money for those things. Right? So this is one of the problems with Islamic schools. Like obviously, I was in Islamic school, is that people can't afford to go to Islamic school, right? And it is a need, right? It's not just something extra. It is a need. It's not just But what happens then is they can't afford it because obviously it's very expensive, and going to a private school is very expensive. You can't afford it, and then there's no zakat system for it. So what should happen? Okay, what should happen is the Islamic school should work seamlessly with zakat distributors so that the parent comes to the school and says, this is my financial situation, I'm actually zakat eligible. So then they say, here we go, we give you the money. There we go, put money in your hand. Now the parent in principle can walk off and go and buy a Mercedes, okay? It's your money. You can do whatever you want. But you saying you want to register a kid, now you have the money. Here we go. Now give it to us. So you can't pay the school directly. I mean, you could in some ways, but the simplest and nicest and easiest way and the cleanest way is, oh, you can't pay? Please go and talk to the Zakat. You know, like you have the banks in the car showroom, right? Like there's Bank of America in the car showroom. Like, oh, I don't have cash to buy this Porsche. Oh, don't worry. They have a desk here. They will finance you right here, right now. Do the paperwork, they'll finance you. Right. So the same thing in the registration place, you go in, and then there's oh, you need to go, okay, go and take a ticket. Here's the documents you need to prove 1, 2, 3, 5. You're Zakat eligible. Fantastic. Here we go. We will give you cash for Zakat. You can do whatever you want with it. It's yours. Put it in your hand. Okay, now you want to register your kid, go and pay. You want to walk off and do something else with the money, it's your money, right? So it's an important thing. Zakat is tamlik. You are giving somebody cash, right? I'm not helping you out in general, right? That's why they say you can't like waive a debt as zakat. You know, let's say you gave zakat to your debtor by waiving the debt. You can't do that. You have to give him the cash. Like, here we go, right? I'm the creditor. Okay, I need to give $5,000 in zakat. You're the debtor. You owe me $5,000. You have to give him the cash. Here we go. If he wants to give it to you, he gives it to you. If he wants to give somebody else, give somebody else. It's up to him. Maybe he owes more money. Maybe he has other things. I don't know. It's tamlik, like I'm giving it to him. Okay, so many people are zakat eligible. Right, many people are zakat eligible. I remember in Jordan, this like 10 years ago, they said, you know, an approximation is anybody who's making less than 800 Jordanian dinars a month is zakat eligible, which is like 95% of Jordan. Right? It's like 95%. That's like, you know, that was like $1,400 a month. Right? That's like, you know, who's making $1,400 a month in Jordan? It's not a normal salary. Right? Look at a junior doctor's making 500 Jordanian dinars, making $700 a month. You know, so you know, like most people are zakat eligible, like a ridiculous amount of zakat eligible people. So now comes in the useful thing with Sham, and Sham said, okay, what about family? He's like, yeah, the best people to give zakat to is your family, right? Particularly family you have issues with, right?
But only family that are Muslim.
Only family of the Muslim, only and if they're zakat eligible, of course, right? Now, here's a problem, right? Here's a problem. Sometimes people, particularly more Eastern people who have a more of a see property as a bigger value, they might actually have a lot of property, right? So like, you know, my wife told me they see like no, Afghanistan, some, you know, this family like, oh, we need help with our kid studying. You know, their salary is like $200 a month. They're making $100 or $200 a month, right? But they own like I don't know, 20 acres. But they don't look at that as money because they could never consider themselves selling that. But they don't need it. They don't need that money, that thing. So they could easily sell it. It's in excess of their need. I'm not talking about selling their house, right? You could be zakat eligible and own like $1 million house. That's not a problem. $1 million isn't anything anymore, of course, in California. But you know, that's not the point. But I'm saying like you don't own $1 million house. You own $3 million houses, right? But you're poor in that you're not making it. Like you don't have the money. So that's because you're not selling your property. That's why. Like you actually have assets, but they don't do it. So we do have to be careful, right? But you have to be, you know, because again, you're giving zakat, you're giving somebody's money to somebody, right? It's not your money, so it's not charity, right? So anyway, how much do you need on a monthly basis? Is it less than half? Yes, I am making less than half of what I need. You are zakat eligible, right? Needy, you are making more than half, but not enough. So he's making 78% of what he needs. Okay. And subhanAllah, this is, you know, the whole concept of zakat. When you start thinking about the concept of zakat, you realize how totally messed up the economy is. Like really bad. Where like actually everybody is poor. Right? And it's like everybody's like living on credit cards and this and that and whatever. It's all kind of pretty crazy. Like it's not a healthy system. It's not a, you know, if you, it's like you know, you go to the doctor and they do that, you know, blood pressure, and they have you go on the treadmill and do this. Like it's really unhealthy. Like it's not a healthy situation. You know, what was what was her name? The assistant, the assistant to the previous president, what was her name?
You mean the vice president,
Vice president, what was her name?
Kamala Harris?
Yeah, so her thing was like, I want, it was the thing like, people should just have one job. They shouldn't have to have two jobs, right? So that's a healthy system where like a man, it says, here, you want a job? I have a job for you. Here's a shovel. Come, we're gonna move this gravel from here to here, and you can provide for your wife and family in an acceptable way. That's how things should be, right? And so things are not always like that. You can't always, economies don't always work like that, but that's how the system should be, right? That you make enough, people can work hard and make enough money, right? That's the situation, how things should be. Right? And those who collect them. So it says, وَالْعَامِلِينَ are those who collect them. We spoke about that. So poor, less than half. Needy, more than half. And those whose hearts to be reconciled. The relied upon position in the Shafi school is these are Muslims and these are not non-Muslims. So this is somebody who has weak iman. He's a new Muslim. He has weak iman, and he needs financial aid. So it's not that. So he receives zakat because of the weakness of his iman, not the fact that he's poor. So it's not a poor person who's a new convert. It's just he's a new convert, right? And that the money would help him in his iman, or he has strong iman, and by giving him money, others around him will become Muslim, right? So he's not necessarily poor though. It's just the money would help him in his iman, right? Or he has strong iman, but by giving him money, those around him, he's an important person in this area and he's Muslim. If you got more money, more people become Muslim, right? This is al-mu'allafat qulubuhum. So there is a position in the Shafi'i school, a weak position, and it finds in other madhahib that this is people who are not Muslim yet. And those whose hearts are to be reconciled, bring them closer through money, right? But that's a weak position in the Shafi'i school. The strong position is it's only Muslims. And to free the captives, this is a slave who is buying his freedom. So why did it say captives? Because you can only become a slave through being a POW, a prisoner of war. So you're a prisoner of war who is Muslim and trying to buy the freedom. You have a mukataba contract where you say, Sham, I will buy my freedom from you. I will give you, I'll give you $50,000 to set me free. So it's fine. Go and work, and whenever you got the $50,000, you're free. So now I'm going around and saying, hey guys, I'm working and I'm trying to, this is a GoFundMe. I'm trying to buy my freedom, right? Everybody give me zakat so I can pay Sham and get my freedom, right? Debtors, right? Somebody who is in debt, right? So you have debts. These debts are currently due. Have you paid them? No. Okay. So therefore you're zakat eligible, but with these people, okay, you're only given zakat up to the amount of your debt. So you owe $50,000. You cannot give that person $100,000. The person is a captive. He needs 49,222 and 5 pence. That's the amount that you give him. You can't give him any more than that. Right? Whereas the poor person, let's say, for example, you're poor and you can't work. Right? He's a disabled person. Right? He's a 20-year-old, he's disabled, he's not able to work. Then we're going to give him money until he's going to be in his 60s. You can give him a lot of money. You can give him tons of money, not a problem. Right? It's not limited. Whereas for these, you can only give them the amount. Similarly, the zakat collectors as well, that's limited to their actual work. What did you do? What would that normally pay for that? And وَفِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, and again, this is a military people in jihad who are not receiving a state salary. Okay? Somebody's going on jihad, he's not receiving a state salary. If he receives a state salary, he does not receive zakat. Okay? And then wayfarers. This is somebody who wants to go on a halal journey. He's on a halal journey, needs to come back, or he wants to go on a halal journey. Okay? This is really interesting. So Badr wants to go to Thailand. He can't go to Thailand. Why? He makes enough money to pay the bills and everything. He doesn't have any savings, doesn't have the money to go to Thailand. So now he's zakat eligible. Why would you pay zakat to somebody to do on holiday? What's the point of that? He wants to go to Thailand. So I can understand he's stuck in Thailand, right? And he can't get back. His debit card isn't working. His credit card isn't working. He's lost his money. Someone stole his wallet, whatever, and he needs help to get back. But here I'm talking about is what's the point of sending him to Thailand? No worries. Shan, what do you think?
Oh no, that clearly violates the whole purpose of giving zakah. It's to uplift people out of poverty, not to reward people who don't even understand the deen. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Sheikh, the person who gives zakah incorrectly, that is sinful as is receiving it, or only
That's
the person
correct. That
giving?
that is correct, and you still have to pay it. You gave it to the wrong person. But what I'm saying, Sham, is you can do that. Badr wants to go to Thailand, and I'm giving him zakat. And you can do that. So the question is, why on earth would the Sharia allow that? I mean, so far we're talking about poor
What
people.
what if the allowance, Sheikh, is that what if Badr is going to Thailand to seek Islamic knowledge?
Okay, that's true. Okay, what if he isn't?
There must be madrasa in Thailand.
Okay, there's
So
lots of Muslims in China, yes. But here's the question, right? Number one, many ulama will condition this saying somebody's stuck, somebody, whatever, okay? Yes, they're gonna make these things. Otherwise, this is something that I experience on a regular basis. The ummah's blood no longer flows no longer circulates, sorry. So Badr doesn't know anything about Thailand and doesn't see any Muslims in Thailand and has no idea what's going on there. He doesn't give da'wah to there, he doesn't do anything. And so when the Muslims no longer travel, it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. Like I'm comparing, like, say, scholarship in my world. Scholarship is like it's all local, right? Everybody's in their own little bubbles. Yesterday was looked at this book, this commentary on some book written in handwriting from Kerala, and it's like, why haven't I seen this book before? It was written like 100 years ago. Why haven't I seen it? Because they don't speak Arabic, they don't speak English. I'm not going to go there. They're not going to go here. There's no sharing of ideas. Whereas you look to the past, everybody is traveling everywhere. Traveling is a huge thing. There's a whole genre of literature of like travel, the literature, right? And this is a part of the need of a society that people travel, they communicate, share ideas, share these things, right? So we can say A, which is a weak position in the Shafi school, that no, there has to be like some kind of pressing need, right? Travelers like, okay, you're stuck or something like that, right? In the sense of duress and difficulty. Or B, say no, it's totally different, right? Much like a debtor. So like, Fareed, why are you in debt? I bought a Ferrari. So now you receive zakat, say yeah. Okay, why? Doesn't make any sense. Why would I give zakat to you? You just bought a Ferrari, now you're in debt. So, well, if you give me zakat, then people can buy and sell things, right? And that's important. There's things that go around in circles. So as long as it's not haram, like, oh, I'm in debt because I bought heroin, I'm in debt because I bought cocaine. As long as it's not haram, then it is actually useful in general to society. The flow of money and the flow of people, the people are traveling from here to there and seeing each other. Part of the dynamism of the West is that there's more flow of people there, right? Sham's there. It's like, whoa, brings a different way of looking at things. Here's this Chinese guy. Here's this guy from Guatemala. This part of the dynamism. So this is part of the dynamism of the ummah, is that somebody who needs to travel is zakat eligible, right? That's the relied upon position in the Shafi school, that as long as it's permissible, right, that you can receive zakat for that. Okay, shall we have to stop, inshallah? We'll come back to these discussions, inshallah, next week. But we spoke about a number of things, and inshallah, we'll come back next week, inshallah. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.